Now on Denver 7 News at 4, selecting a superintendent.
I think we all just need to focus on unification, getting the district back together.
We hear from parents about what they hope to see from whoever wins the vote.
Meat is expensive right now. Could a virus, and we're not talking about COVID, make your chicken cost even more? Plus, a story that may make you think twice before putting your headphones in, the injury that they can cause from everyday use.
Plus, renters tired of the fear of losing their property.
Definitely not quite the most comfortable feeling, knowing that your car might get broken into at any moment. So
We take a look at the fine print and what renters can do to make sure their landlords are being held accountable.
Thank you for joining us at 4. I'm Jessica Porter. Douglas County schools are one step closer to finding a new superintendent. The board announced 2 finalists a month after they fired former Superintendent Corey Wise. Aaron Kane is the executive director of schools for American Academy. That's a charter system. Kane served as interim superintendent for Douglas County from 2016 to 2018. The other candidate is Danny Windsor, the executive director for the Parker region of Douglas County Schools, which he's been since the summer of 2020. Before that, he was with the district for over a dozen years. There was a motion to move Windsor forward as the only finalist, but that was defeated. Next Tuesday's board meeting will be the chance for public comment on the finalists, with an interview panel quizzing the finalists on March 10th. The last public comment session before hiring the next superintendent is set for March 22nd. Both candidates were interviewed today in a public meeting where parents sat in. Denver 7 asked them what they hope the new superintendent brings to the table.
I really want to hear what their plan is for improving kids' academic scores sooner than later. We've seen a slow slide. I want to hear promises that those scores are going to be the first priority for whoever gets hired today.
As for Corey Wise, that was the former superintendent who was fired from his position after holding it less than a year. He's accepted a new job with Jeffco Public Schools. Attorneys representing Wise filed an open records request in mid-February looking for all communications surrounding his firing. Arapahoe County deputies shot and killed a person this morning while checking out a reported stolen car. This was on Harvard in Quebec and Denver. Deputies say they ordered the person out of the car, but they started to back the car up towards them. That's when they opened fire. Deputies say they did find a gun inside the car, but the suspect did not use it. As fighting intensifies in Ukraine, Russia essentially is cut off from the Western world. There's a growing list of sanctions being imposed on Russia tonight. The U.S. has announced new sanctions against Russian oligarchs, blocking their travel to the U.S. and also targeting their relatives.
Today I'm announcing that we're adding dozens of names to the list, including one of Russia's wealthiest billionaires, choking off access to technology as well as cutting off access to the global financial system.
Meantime, major airplane manufacturers are no longer providing service or parts for Russian aircraft, which experts say will have an unprecedented impact on Russia's economy, potentially bringing their aviation industry to a halt. Boeing is joining the growing list of Western companies cutting ties with Russia, including Apple, Nike, General Motors, Disney, the National Hockey League, and TikTok. President Joe Biden held a cabinet meeting to discuss the war in Ukraine. His administration also wants $10 billion in aid for the country. It's something Colorado Senator Michael Bennet says the U.S. has to stand up for democracy and the Ukrainian people.
We have to do everything we can right now to supply the Ukrainians with lethal aid that they can use to try to fend off this criminal Putin, this tyrant Putin. And that's what we're going to do. I think that my view is that we should not put U.S. troops on the ground or in harm's way in Ukraine. And I think
Bennett also says he doesn't think we should put U.S. troops on the ground or in harm's way in Ukraine.
You may have heard the term Russian oligarch lately. Whether they're taking a stand for or against Russia during the country's invasion of Ukraine, Newsy's Clayton Sandell explains who they are and how they're playing a role in the conflict.
Russia's billionaire elites are on notice.
Tonight, I say to the Russian oligarchs and the corrupt leaders who bilked billions of dollars off this violent regime, no more.
What exactly is an oligarch? The dictionary says, especially in Russia, a very rich business leader with a great deal of political influence. But who are they, and how did they get so rich? For that, we go back to the fall of the Soviet Union.
These are not people that invented Google or Microsoft or Amazon. These are people that took over state industries that were there during the Soviet era. And in 1991, there was a mad scramble for who was going to run these industries. They all took over these various industries, and they became these multi-zillionaires.
As long as they stayed loyal to Vladimir Putin, the oligarchs lived lives of the rich and infamous, a world of yachts, private schools, and private jets. Some own sports teams. But Putin's Ukraine invasion threatens that lifestyle. A Twitter account is now tracking their private jets. Dozens of oligarchs face sanctions, frozen assets, travel restrictions, and being called out by the U.S. president.
We're joining with European allies to find and seize their yachts, their luxury apartments, their private jets. We're coming for your ill-begotten gains.
Under pressure, the oligarch's loyalty to Putin is showing cracks. Roman Abramovich is reportedly helping negotiate peace and trying to sell England's Chelsea soccer team before he's sanctioned. Once Russia's richest man, Oleg Deripaska, tweeted, "Peace is the priority. Negotiations must start ASAP." And the founder of Russia's largest private bank, Mikhail Friedman, has reportedly called for the bloodshed to end. It's unclear whether Putin's super-rich allies can pressure him into standing down. Many are staying silent, aware that crossing Putin carries a dangerous risk. Reporting in Denver, I'm Clayton Sandell.
Broken garage gates, stolen cars, and increased crime. That's why residents at a downtown apartment complex reached out to us last week. After that story aired, more than a dozen tenants at apartments across the metro reached out for the exact same reasons. Residents at the Cherry Creek, Lugano, and 2020 Lawrence apartment complex say the garage gates at their properties have been damaged for months, contributing to car break-ins and thefts.
Every single time I walk into the garage, I kind of hope that my car is still there. I hit the lock button just to hear it to make sure.
According to management, supply chain issues have delayed any planned repairs to the gates, and residents are wondering what their rights are. So we asked an attorney.
If it goes to really a safety issue or a danger issue, a tenant could definitely make an argument that due to this broken gate, there's a significant amount of crime, I could be subject to it. They can make an argument in this area of law.
But landlords also have rights. If they are impacted by supply chain issues, there can be an argument made that they are doing the best they reasonably can to fix the issue.
The landlord certainly has an argument of saying, we're doing the best I can. The question arises, is the best you can good enough? And is it really the best you can do?
Tonight on Denver 7 News at 6, we'll have more on both landlord and tenant rights.
A highly contagious flu continues to infect birds across the country. The USDA has documented it so far in 10 states this year. These are them right here on this map. It was found in backyard flocks in Connecticut and Iowa this week. Iowa does claim to be the #1 state for egg production. Then you have Ohio and Indiana, which has some of the most food supply chickens. Last month, the USDA expanded its surveillance of the wild bird population.
The working theory is that it's moving through the wild birds and then with occasional introduction into poultry, either in small backyard flocks or in the larger production settings.
Now, this was detected in Canada before the United States. Experts say it does look similar to what Europe has seen in the last few years. It's only impacting a few poultry plants right now. They do typically have strong infection containment plans to not impact the food supply.
The poultry producers are certainly ramping up their biosecurity procedures, and I think, as we've had those detections, a big bump in awareness and change in behavior just to ramp up that biosecurity. And so I think that's probably helping us an awful lot.
You hear on the news how much chicken is thrown away, destroyed, and it seems overwhelming, but you just have to remember how much is produced.
Yeah, since it is only impact a small number of plants, it's unclear at this point if it will add on to those already high meat prices that we're seeing at the store. Now, the biggest unknown, how the virus will change Avian flu can be transmitted between species. Experts say they aren't really seeing that right now. Proper cooking and handling of poultry at home can kill the virus. Now, what does a future of accepting COVID as just part of our lives mean for those who are part of the high-risk population? What doctors say you should do if you test positive.
And coming up, parents making sure they know what their children are learning in school. We take a look at a new push for Colorado classrooms to be more transparent. It's part of a nationwide trend.